The rain-slicked streets of Brooklyn gleamed under the streetlights, each puddle reflecting a fractured piece of the city's pulse. I stood frozen outside the diner, watching him through the fogged-up window, his laughter cutting through me like a blade I'd forgotten how to wield. Ethan Caldwell, the boy who'd once been my everything, was sitting there, oblivious, his arms slung casually around someone new. For years ago, I'd have given anything for one of those laughs to be aimed at me. Back then, I was just Jamie Torres, the quiet kid from Bushwick who'd fallen hard for the golden boy of our high school. Ethan, with his easy smile and quarterback swagger, had been the son I orbited, even when he barely noticed I existed. We'd shared one summer, one reckless, heart-pounding summer where stolen glances turned into stolen kisses behind the bleachers. But when senior year ended, so did we. He stopped calling, stopped texting, stopped looking my way. I was a ghost in his world, and it broke me. I pushed open the diner door, the bell jingling like a warning. The air smelled of coffee and grease, and the hum of conversation dulled as I stepped inside. Ethan's eyes flicked up, and for a moment, time collapsed. Those hazel eyes, the ones I'd memorized in the dark, widened in recognition. His dainty guy with sharp cheekbones and a designer jacket frowned, sensing the shift. Jamie. Ethan's voice was a low rumble, uncertain, like he wasn't sure I was real. I forced a smile, tight and brittle. Been a while, hasn't it? He stood, his chair scraping against the linoleum. His date's frown deepened, but Ethan didn't notice. He crossed the room in 3 strides, stopping just short of me, close enough that I could smell the cedarwood cologne he still wore. "Where have you been?" he asked, like I'd vanished into thin air. "I got tired of waiting," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "You made it clear I wasn't worth your time." His jaw tightened, and something flickered in his eyes. Guilt. Maybe. Or something deeper. "That's not true," he whispered. But I was already turning away. I'd spent years rebuilding myself after he'd left me in pieces. I wasn't here to beg for scraps again. For years earlier, the summer of 2017 was a fever dream. Ethan and I had been inseparable, sneaking out to Coney Island at midnight, our bare feet sinking into the cool sand as the Ferris wheel spun above us. He'd held my hand under the boardwalk, his thumb tracing circles on my skin, and promised we'd figure it out as the world. Everything. I believed him because I was 17 and stupidly in love. But fall came, and Ethan changed. He got scouted for college football, and suddenly, I was a liability. His friends, his teammates, they didn't know about us. He'd said it was easier that way, to keep things quiet until he was ready. I waited. I waited through every ignored text, every canceled plan, every time he looked through me in the halls. By graduation, I was invisible to him, and the weight of it crushed me. So I left. Not just Brooklyn, but everything. I packed a bag, took a bus to Chicago, and started over. I got a job at a bookstore, enrolled in community college, and built a life where Ethan Caldwell was just a memory I buried deep. I dated other people, laughed with new friends, and told myself I was fine. But late at night, when the city hummed outside my window, I'd wonder if he ever thought about me. Now, standing in that diner, I realized he hadn't forgotten. The way he looked at me, like I was a puzzle he'd lost the pieces to, told me that much. But I wasn't the same Jamie. I'd learned how to stand tall, how to walk away. "Jamie, wait," Ethan called as I headed for the door. His date was on his feet now, arms crossed. But Ethan didn't care. "Can we talk? Please?" I paused, my hand on the door handle. "You had 4 years to talk. Ethan, I'm not here for you anymore." I stepped into the rain, letting it wash over me as I walked away. But deep down, I knew this wasn't the end. Ethan Caldwell had a way of pulling me back, no matter how far I ran. The next morning, I woke to a text from an unknown number. Meet me at Prospect Park. 3 p.m. Please. Jamie. I need to explain. I stared at the screen, my thumb hovering over the delete button. I should have ignored it. I should have blocked him. But something in me, some stubborn, foolish part, wanted answers. Prospect Park was alive with the chaos of a New York afternoon. Kids chasing soccer balls. Couples sprawled on blankets. The air thick with the scent of pretzels and fallen leaves. I found Ethan on a bench by the lake, his broad shoulders hunched, a coffee cup dangling from his fingers. He looked older, the boyish charm tempered by something heavier. Regret. Maybe. You came, he said, standing as I approached. His voice was soft, like he was afraid I'd bolt. Against my better judgment, I replied, crossing my arms. What do you want? Ethan. He ran a hand through his hair. A nervous habit I remembered too well. I messed up. Jamie. I know that. I was scared back then, scared of what people would think, what my family would say. I thought if I kept you a secret, I could keep you. But I lost you instead. His words hit like a punch, raw and unguarded. I wanted to scream, to tell him how much he'd hurt me. But I stayed silent, letting him unravel. I came out last year, he said, his eyes searching mine. It was hell. My dad still won't talk to me. But I did it because I couldn't keep pretending. And every day since, I've thought about you, about how I let you go. I swallowed hard, my throat tight. You didn't let me go, Ethan. You pushed me away. I know, he said, his voice breaking. And I hate myself for it. I'm not asking you to forgive me, Jamie. I need you to know I was always yours, even when I was too weak to show it. The words hung between us, heavy and fragile. I wanted to believe him, but trust was a muscle I hadn't used in years. I need time, I said finally, turning to leave. Don't follow me. As I walked away, the park blurring around me, I felt the weight of his gaze on my back. Part of me wanted to run back, to fall into him like I had at 17. But the other part, the part that had survived, knew better. The Chicago skyline had been my refuge, a jagged silhouette that promised a fresh start. But back in New York, the city felt like a maze of memories, each corner whispering Ethan's name. I'd spent the last 3 days dodging his texts, each one more desperate than the last. I'm sorry, Jamie. Let me make this right. I didn't reply, but I couldn't delete them either. I threw myself into work, managing a small bookstore in Williamsburg. The shop was a haven, all creaky floors and shelves stuffed with dog-eared paperbacks. My coworker, Lena, noticed my distraction. You look like you're running from something, she said one afternoon, her braids swinging as she restocked poetry. Not running. I lied, shelving a copy of Whitman. Just dealing. She raised an eyebrow but didn't push. Lena had a way of seeing through me, but she knew when to let me be. That night, though, I couldn't escape. I found myself at a dive bar in the East Village, nursing a beer and scrolling through old photos on my phone. There we were, Ethan and me, grinning at Coney Island, his arms slung over my shoulders. I'd been so happy then, so sure we were forever. A shadow fell over my table, and I looked up to find Ethan standing there, his leather jacket damp from the drizzle outside. You're hard to track down, he said, his voice low, almost teasing. How'd you find me? I asked, my heart thudding. Lena. She said you might be here. He slid into the seat across from me, uninvited. I'm not giving up, Jamie. I leaned back, crossing my arms. You don't get to just show up and act like nothing happened. You broke me. Ethan, you don't get to decide when I'm ready to talk. He flinched, but his eyes didn't waver. I know I hurt you. I was a coward. I thought if I kept my head down, I could have it all the team. My family. You. But I was wrong. And I lost the only thing that mattered. His honesty disarmed me. But I wasn't ready to let him in. Why now? I asked. Why not a year ago? Or 2? Why show up when I'm finally okay? Because I'm not okay. He admitted. His voice raw. I see you in everything. Jamie. Every song. Every street. Every damn sunset. I can't move on. And I don't want to. I stared at him. The bar's neon lights casting shadows on his face. He looked tired. Vulnerable in a way I'd never seen. Part of me wanted to reach for him. To erase the years between us. But the hurt was still there. Sharp and unyielding. I can't do this right now, I said. Standing. I need space. He nodded. But as I walked away, he called out. I'll wait. Jamie. As long as it takes. The next week was a blur of routine work. Coffee. Late night runs through the city to clear my head. But Ethan was relentless. He didn't push too hard. Didn't show up unannounced again. But he was there, small gestures that chipped away at my walls. A coffee left at the bookstore with my name scrawled on the cup. A playlist of our old songs sent with a simple I remember. A note slipped under my apartment door. I'm still here. I hated how much it got to me. I'd built a life without him. A good one. I had friends. A job I loved. A future I could see. But Ethan was a ghost I couldn't exorcise. And every gesture brought back the boy I'd loved. I started to wonder if I'd ever stopped. One evening, I found myself at the Brooklyn Bridge. The city lights glittering like stars against the dark water. I'd come here to think. To decide what to do about Ethan. But when I saw him standing at the railing, his silhouette unmistakable, I knew it wasn't a coincidence. You stalking me now? I asked, half joking. As I approached, he turned, a shy smile breaking through. I come here when I need to think. Guess we still have the same habits. We stood side by side, the wind carrying the scent of the river. For a moment, it was like no time had passed. What do you want from me, Ethan? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. I want a chance, he said. Not to fix the past, but to build something new. I know I don't deserve it, but I'm asking anyway. I looked at him, really looked, and saw the boy who'd kissed me under the boardwalk. The man who'd fought to find himself. The person who was still fighting for me. I don't know if I can trust you, I said, but I'm willing to try. His face lit up, hope flickering like a candle in the dark. That's all I need, he said, his hand brushing mine. For the first time in years, I didn't pull away. Trying to trust Ethan was like learning to walk again, tentative. Unsteady, but not impossible. We started small, meeting for coffee in neutral places, talking about everything and nothing. He told me about his life since high school, the football scholarship that fell apart, the years of hiding who he was, the slow, painful process of coming out. I told him about Chicago, about the bookstore, about the nights I'd spent trying to forget him. We were careful with each other, like handling glass. But the pull was still there, that electric hum that had always existed between us. One night, at a jazz club in Harlem, the music weaving around us like a spell, he reached for my hand under the table. His touch was warm, familiar, and for the first time, I let myself lean into it. You're different now, he said, his eyes tracing my face. Stronger. I had to be, I replied. You left me no choice. He nodded, his thumb brushing over my knuckles. I'm proud of you, Jamie. I always was. The words hit harder than I expected, stirring something I'd buried deep. I wanted to believe him, but doubt lingered like a shadow. Could I really let him back in? Could I risk my heart again? Weeks turned into months, and Ethan became a constant in my life again. We'd walk through Central Park, sharing stories and silences, rebuilding something fragile but real. He was different too, more open, more honest. He'd cut ties with the friends who'd pressured him to hide, and he was working as a youth counselor, helping kids like us who were struggling to find their place. But the past wasn't gone. One night, at my apartment, we argued. It started small a comment about an old memory, but it snowballed. You act like it was easy for me, Ethan said, his voice rising. You think I wanted to hurt you? I was scared, Jamie. I didn't know how to be me and keep you. You didn't try? I shot back. You chose your fear over me. You let me think I wasn't enough. He paced, his hands clenched. You were always enough. I was the one who wasn't. I'm trying now. Damn it. Doesn't that count? I wanted to scream, to push him out, but I saw the desperation in his eyes. The same desperation I'd felt for years. It counts, I said finally, my voice soft. But it doesn't erase everything. He stepped closer, his breath uneven. I know, but I love you, Jamie. I never stopped. The words hung in the air, raw and undeniable. I wanted to say them back, but they caught in my throat. Instead, I reached for him, pulling him into a kiss that felt like coming home and breaking apart all at once. The holidays came, and with them, a test. Ethan invited me to his family's Christmas dinner in Long Island. I want them to meet you, he said, his voice steady but nervous. The real you, not the secret I kept. I hesitated. His father's silence after Ethan came out was no secret. But Ethan's hand in mine, warm and sure, gave me courage. Okay, I said. Let's do this. The drive to Long Island was quiet, the radio filling the gaps. When we arrived, his mother greeted me warmly, her smile genuine but strained. His father, a broad man with Ethan's eyes, shook my hand but said little. Dinner was tense, the clink of silverware loud in the silence. Then, halfway through, his father spoke. So, Jamie, he said, his voice gruff. Ethan says you're important to him. I glanced at Ethan, who nodded slightly. Yes, sir, I said. He's important to me too. His father's jaw tightened, but he didn't look away. He's my son. I don't understand all this, but I'm trying. For him. It wasn't acceptance. Not fully, but it was a start. Ethan squeezed my hand under the table, and I felt a weight lift. We weren't just fighting for us anymore, we're fighting for a world that could see us. Spring came to New York, painting the city in blooms and possibility. Ethan and I were a unit now, not without flaws, but stronger for it. We'd learned to navigate the rough patches, to talk through the hurt instead of running from it. But life, as always, had other plans. One morning, I got a call from Lena. The bookstore was closing, rising rents, falling sales. I'd lose my job, my anchor. Panic set in, but Ethan was there, steady as ever. We'll figure it out, he said, pulling me close. Together. He suggested I move in with him. A small apartment in Queens with a view of the skyline. It was a big step, one that scared me as much as it thrilled me. But I said yes, because with Ethan, I was learning to leap. Moving day was chaos, boxes, laughter, and Ethan's terrible taste in music blaring from a speaker. As we unpacked, I found an old photo of us from that summer at Coney Island, tucked inside a book. I showed it to him, and he smiled, soft and wistful. "We were so young," he said, tracing the edges of the photo. "We were," I agreed. "But we're here now." He pulled me into his arms, his lips brushing my forehead. "I was always yours, Jamie, even when I was too stupid to show it." I laughed, the sound light and free. "And I was always yours, even when I ran." Months later, we stood in Prospect Park again. The same bench from that autumn day, now a touchstone for us. The air was warm, the sunset golden, and Ethan was nervous, fidgeting in a way that made me suspicious. "Jamie," he said, taking my hands, "I've spent years regretting the time I lost with you. I don't want to lose any more." Before I could respond, he dropped to one knee, a small velvet box in his hand. My breath caught as he opened it, revealing a simple silver band. "I love you," he said, his voice steady despite the tremor in his hands. "I want to build a life with you, through every mess and miracle. Will you marry me?" Tears blurred my vision, but I nodded, unable to speak. He slipped the ring on my finger, and the park erupted in cheers. Lena, our friends, even strangers clapping as Ethan pulled me into a kiss that felt like a promise kept. Our wedding was small, just us and the people who mattered, under the cherry blossoms in Brooklyn Botanic Garden. Ethan's father was there, quieter than most, but present. His mother cried, hugging me tight. Lena officiated, her voice warm and steady as we said our vows. "I promise to see you," Ethan said, his eyes locked on mine. "Always." "And I promise to stay," I replied, my voice breaking. "Always." As we danced under the stars, the city humming around us, I thought about the boy who'd ignored me, the man who'd fought to find me again, and the love that had survived it all. We weren't perfect, but we were real. And in the end, that was enough.